Jessica Lane, a determined investigative journalist, stood in the buzzing White House press room. She was moments away from interviewing President Donald Trump. Her editors expected hard-hitting questions, and Jessica was prepared to deliver. Trump, known for his bravado and bold declarations, often left people questioning the truth. Jessica was ready to challenge him. As the president entered with his signature confident grin, the room buzzed with energy. Cameras flashed and microphones clicked on. Though her heart raced, Jessica's voice remained steady. She began with a sharp question about recent promises concerning family welfare programs, promises many believed had been broken. Trump's gaze tightened as he launched into a well-rehearsed response. Jessica pushed harder, pointing out contradictions and directly accusing him of misleading the public. The room fell silent. "Mr. President, are you not deceiving the American people?" she asked firmly. Trump's smile wavered. "I'm not lying. You just don't see the full picture," he replied. Jessica wasn't fully convinced, but in that moment she caught a glimpse in Trump's eyes, something human, something unspoken. She drew a breath, determined to go deeper, not realizing how profoundly this moment would alter her path. After the press conference, Jessica gathered her notes in a hallway when an elderly man approached her. "Miss Lane?" he said gently, holding a framed photo. Jessica turned, surprised. The man looked hesitant but resolved. "I work in the White House kitchen," he said. "I heard your interview. I think you should see this." He handed her the picture, an old black and white photo of a smiling family. "That's my family," the man said. "And in the back, that's President Trump with my younger brother. This was taken decades ago." Jessica stared at the image, confused. "What does this have to do with the interview?" The man sighed. "There's more to him than what people see on the news. You think he's lying, but sometimes the truth is buried in the past." Jessica's instincts kicked in. Could this photo reveal a story no one else knew? She decided to investigate. She had no idea how personal and complex the journey would become. That evening, back in her apartment, Jessica studied the photo. The young boy in the background, resembling Trump, intrigued her. She began looking into the Johnson family, the one the man had mentioned. Her research uncovered that the Johnsons had once worked on a construction site where a young Donald Trump, accompanied by his father, was often present. The Johnsons remembered the Trumps as generous but weighed down by private battles. Jessica called members of the White House kitchen staff, slowly piecing together a story not just about politics, but about a child shaped by a father's ambitions. The narrative began to shift. The man's words echoed in her mind. Sometimes the truth is hidden in the past. Maybe Trump's controversial words stemmed from something more personal. Jessica's reporting evolved, not just to expose inconsistencies, but to understand the man behind the public persona. She struggled with her next article. Should she call out Trump's contradictions openly, or tell a more layered story that showed the human side behind the words? Her editor demanded a tough exposé, but Jessica felt a different pull. One evening, she sat with the old family photo in her hand. The children's smiles felt untouched by the weight of politics. She wondered about legacy and what it meant to carry both family and public expectations. Her phone buzzed. It was the kitchen worker. "If you want the full truth, meet me tomorrow. I have something to show you." Jessica hesitated but agreed. This wasn't just about headlines anymore. She was chasing a deeper truth. The next day, they met in a quiet corner of the White House kitchen. The man led her to a storage room filled with boxes. He pulled out an old leather-bound journal. "This belonged to Mr. Trump's father," he said. "It's never been made public." Jessica flipped through it. The pages were filled with notes on discipline, ambition, love, and regrets. It told the story of a man trying to shape his son into a survivor. It was a portrait of a family torn between expectations and affection. Jessica felt a mix of awe and sadness. Trump's persona had been molded by more than politics. She realized her reporting had to go deeper. It wasn't just about lies, it was about the complexity of the person behind them. Suddenly, her phone rang. A private number. "Ms. Lane, this is President Trump," the voice said. Jessica froze. "I hear you've been asking tough questions and found things you didn't expect." He paused. "I'd like to meet." "No cameras, just us." Jessica agreed, wary but curious. In a small room away from the press, Trump greeted her with a firm handshake. The usual bravado had faded. "You wanted the truth," he said. "Let me tell you what doesn't make the news." He spoke about his childhood, the lessons his father taught him, sometimes harshly, and how those moments shaped his choices. He admitted faults, but also shared his hopes, not for praise, but for something lasting. Jessica listened closely, her critical lens softened by understanding. The man in front of her was flawed, complicated, but human. Before she left, Trump handed her a sealed envelope. "Open it when you're ready," he said. Later, at home, Jessica carefully opened. Inside was a letter written by Trump's father decades ago. It spoke of hope for his son, a desire for him to build unity, not division. It was personal, heartfelt, and deeply revealing. Jessica felt tears rise. This wasn't political spin. It was the burden of a legacy. The story had changed. It wasn't about deception anymore. It was about uncovering the person behind the title. The next day, she returned to the White House carrying both the photo and the letter. Trump looked at them quietly. "You asked for proof," he said, softly. "This is it, the foundation of who I am." Jessica realized the photograph wasn't just a memory. It was a symbol of family, resilience, and untold stories. For the first time, she saw Trump not just as a leader, but as a man grappling with legacy. Her story would no longer be in black and white, but in shades of understanding. When her article was published, it sparked conversations across the country. Some were surprised, some skeptical, but many were moved. Comments poured in. Finally, a human story in politics. This made me rethink what I read. Jessica understood now. Her role wasn't just to report the facts, but to reveal the humanity behind them. Weeks later, Jessica received a letter from a single mother in a small town. "Your story gave me hope," it read. "If someone like Trump carries the weight of family struggles, maybe I can carry mine too." Jessica smiled, realizing her work had made a real difference. At a public event, Trump referenced her article. "We all have stories that shape us," he said. "It's time we build bridges, in politics and in our families." Jessica watched from the crowd, cautiously hopeful. Maybe this was the beginning of something new. Not just for Trump, but for anyone willing to see beyond the headlines. She later visited the Johnson family again. They shared stories of joy, loss, and simple kindness. Jessica understood then this wasn't just Trump's story. It was about every family with a history no one sees. The Johnsons thanked her for honoring their story with care. Reflecting on her career, Jessica realized how often journalism focused on conflict. Her experience reminded her of something vital. Journalists have the power to build empathy, not just headlines. She promised herself to pursue stories that honored complexity. One night, writing her next piece, she thought about truth, deception, and the murky space in between. The world wasn't black and white. Understanding was often the hardest truth to accept. Trump, too, sat in reflection. He reread his father's letter, thinking about what legacy really meant. He knew public scrutiny would never end, but hoped this story reminded others that he was more than just a headline. Jessica received a final gift, a recent family photo from the White House, Trump with his children and grandchildren. It represented healing, growth, and the enduring strength of family. Some stories don't end with an article. They live on in the people they touch. Jessica was invited to a private family gathering hosted by Trump. She hesitated, then accepted, curious to witness a different side of the man she once challenged. There she saw laughter, vulnerability, and warmth, a side rarely seen in public. Jessica sat with Trump one last time. They spoke openly about the past, their hopes, and what lay ahead. "Thank you for seeing beyond the headlines," Trump said. "Thank you for trusting me with the truth," Jessica replied. She published her final piece, not just about politics, but about humanity. Readers were inspired to look deeper, to forgive more, and to seek